Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is going to be a very long video, but this is my initial reaction from the 2020 Joe Biden versus Donald Trump presidential debates. Now, my recordings didn't make any sense because I don't have proper equipment. I used my phone. So I kind of missed the first hour and a half, and I got the last hour and a half where we started talking about the end of the Green Deal stuff and the big government, and then it got to my favourite segment, the part where Joe Biden and Donald Trump were getting asked about law and order and all the Black Lives Matter and Antifa stuff. To be honest, I'm still putting my process through it, what I think about everything, but I think, well, we're gonna have to do an initial review, okay? And let's go and watch the entire reaction. Some of the words might be a bit off, I'm sorry about that, or they might be a bit on, but I've been looking at the thing continuously for 2.5 hours, so it's gonna blow my brain up just a bit. So thank you, and if you enjoyed the content on this channel, if you want to watch this video continuously, please be sure to subscribe and follow the channel in any way possible, because we are trying to make as much content so the people can wake up. Thank you, and let's continue with the entire live stream. Remember, this is from an hour and a half in already, or an hour and a half left of the 2.5 hour session. Thank you. Sorry, don't know what happened there. It kind of cut me off there. Sorry, that was a shame, that, eh? That was a bit weird, but it's okay. We're back to normal. Like back to conversation.
So we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made.
Oh yeah, big government and high taxes. Not a fucking good idea. The government should be as small as possible to get people going. If the government is allowed to do everything they fucking want, what is the point of this? Oof. It wouldn't be fucking good, I tell you that. It would not be good.
Paid by
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
Yeah,
by the way,
taxes.
I'm gonna eliminate significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of dollars.
when you were Vice President Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was
That's right.
your tax proposal.
I got it done, and you know what happened?
You got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy
Well,
is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower tax for the American people.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also,
That was a
they took over
terrible
something
years,
that
I
was down
mind
here.
that
All you had
one.
to do is turn on the lights so you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
Mr.
we
Vice President.
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history.
Are you fucking kidding? The economy went up! And then China got involved and it went fucking down again. But it seems to be recovering quite well if you look at the numbers properly. Aye, don't look at the CNN ones or the BBC ones. Look at the actual Fox News or the other ones. Or even look at the ones on your phone. They probably tell you just as much. The economy is going back up. And the ones that, it's not exactly like the 1920s one. Fucking hell. But it's not his tax codes that did that. No way. I wasn't even close to what did it.
I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
He blew
booming.
it. He
It
blew it.
wasn't
He
booming.
blew
It
it?
was the weakest recovery.
He fucking got it better!
Is it fair to say he blew it when, in
When
fact,
COVID hit.
when there was record low unemployment
Yeah.
before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, country went in a hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris, wait.
Number two.
Chris,
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number 2.
No.
Chris. They said it would
This
take
guy.
a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Bought
did
by
not do
Standard Fare.
I'm the guy
He
that brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile industry.
All right, let him
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're gone.
They did
Ohio
that
had the best year
themselves.
it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies came in from Germany, from China, went to Michigan, and went to Ohio.
They're not having
And
it.
they didn't come in with you.
Mr. Vice President.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch.
All
Down
right, gentlemen,
18%.
in-
China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million? What did he even deserve?
You're going to
Deal
go.
with Burisma.
You're going that way? Oh, fuck.
Question, let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really?
It's totally,
But no, hey, Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please.
totally
ask the question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get
No, I'm sorry.
He got $3.5
You
million.
change your mind again,
it's not
Joe.
true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh,
President,
But, Mr.
it's an open discussion, please.
No,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's-
you
there's
have
not.
raised an issue, let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
It was
Burisma
a
make
report-
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
By who?
And
The media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they're the
allies,
easiest to
by
talk
the
about
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, he
Don't trust the media.
testified under
Give me
oath.
credible
So let me-
sources.
No, go ahead, Mister. I'm listening to you.
People under.
He got $3.5
He
million from
testified.
Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration. Said, "I did my job and I did it very well. I did it
I'd like to know
honorably."
who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't
Well,
do a good
here's
job. With you,
Go ahead,
this
wait a minute, you get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey, let me
this
just
person.
say,
No, Mr. President,
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply.
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million from
Did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already.
family,
No,
my
let him
family lost a fortune by coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's such
And
a.
they're right here.
Mr.
That's such
President.
a great.
Single
That's
one of
true,
them.
they did probably lose more than actually not going near the government.
They didn't
American
make
people.
$3.5 million.
He doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
All right.
I hate when he's doing that because it's like, listen to me, God, put Joe knows what he's talking about.
To be honest, it's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
He stood up.
No,
He stood up.
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No,
Oh,
sir.
boy.
$1 billion if you
That
get rid
is
of it.
You know what, you're
absolutely not
stop.
true.
Tape
You're-
doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
true.
Gentlemen, I hate to raise my voice, but
He's
it
on
seems to me, why shouldn't I be different than the two of you? So here's the deal.
Good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want.
Uninterrupted, by the
I'm
way.
going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more
Oh,
interrupting.
that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than
Okay.
No, less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yes.
President
Here we
Trump,
fucking
you
go.
have often said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with a possible
Which can be proven if you just look at a few of his policies. Just to say, and we're going back to the lace thing. Thank you, but I didn't think you chose this subject to be personally on. Okay, let's see how this fucking goes.
exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is why
Did you literally just fucking use a line from another guy? That wasn't his line though, was it?
should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years?
Here we
Vice
go.
President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution.
Like what you and Kamala have done for the last 50 years. Sure. Did you not put bills through, Joe, that actually force black Americans to be more diverse? Or what? Something like that? The black Americans could actually be worse off. Some stupid equity bill of their own. And Kamala actually punished black people themselves for doing drug crimes when she did them herself. But the black community fucking hates her. Like she ran for president and she fucking lost, and then only when it comes back again, it's like, oh, it's fucking amazing again. I don't think people forget all the people that got arrested and jailed. And then the lace crime things where all you lot seem to do, Democrats, they all seem to talk about lace, this is equality, and lace and equality, we support Black Lives Matter. But the thing is that Black Lives Matter destroys your little shops, don't they? It stops your businesses. I'm just saying it now before it ends up being brought up again. They don't use their own lines. They only use it for propaganda of themselves. They do. Go on, Joe. Just before you start speaking your shit about your own equities and responsibilities or respect, because you put your fucking bill through that actually damaged black Americans more than all the other ones. I actually need to check what it is. And Trump actually put the black privilege thing or the black something package or whatever it was. It was actually quite helpful to the black community, but I need to check that up. We'll make a video on that eventually. Let's go to hear creepy old Joe's fucking laces attitudes there.
And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the races with those people, close your eyes. Remember what those people looked like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied
Yeah, the Democrats.
by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president has ever said anything like
That line was a different line when he was asked about it. There was fine people on both sides, he said, but he said the white supremacists and the Nazis were not the good ones. He fucking said that. This is why you don't trust the media, because there's both sides to every story. You don't look at one and then look at another one. That's not how this works.
that.
It is who's
Now, second
Don't
point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was
Oh,
killed,
fuck me.
there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up.
No. Peaceful protest. Yelling at the fucking police officers, burning the church, damaging property, and plus that thing about the police shoving the people back. You are aware the White House is a secure property of the United States government, where the president is a secure location. The police of DC actually shoved folk away anyway because they were damaging the old fucking church. They burnt it. That's why he went out as a fucking boss with a Bible I wish I had one. Well, I use this. Like they walked out, showed this like a Bible up and down in the air, acted like a boss and saying, "This isn't going to be happening. This is a Christ church, and you don't even burn it." Those people were not peaceful, and don't you fucking use Black Lives Matter. I bet there were a few good people in there, but you shouldn't be encouraging people for violence, people. That's not how this works. But those incidences in DC, plus George Floyd was a criminal, so don't endorse criminals.
The Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus.
1 in 1,000? Fuck no, that's not much.
Here, 1 in 5
Fucking hell.
will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans.
Oh, 1 is 500 now. Oh, shit. That's not much either. Fucking hell.
This man cares at all? This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
you
racism?
did a crime bill, 1994, where you called them super predators, African Americans, super
The
predators.
crime
And they've
bill,
never
that's what it
forgotten
was.
They've never forgotten it, Jerry.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that. Because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals. Total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States.
Not exactly
I
what
have
the point
Florida,
you're
I have
supposed to be making,
Texas,
is it, Trump?
I have Ohio,
Long bit.
I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because, you know what, if they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you
They're
look at
fucking nuts
Chicago,
over there.
If you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day, and they put up their hands, and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats, and in many cases,
And they're up in
radical
fucking
left.
flames.
They've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the
Thank
question
you.
of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women.
Oh, really? I thought they were all fucking racist. I thought they wanted to kill the black people. You know, make sure they were all dead like they were the KKK. I guess you're just gonna lose your supporters now.
They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out.
And they do. And don't blame on the Breonna Taylor case for that. We have all talked about it. Breonna was a crossfire incident. That's what I use the words for. She was a crossfire incident. where you get shot in the crossfire. She wasn't sleeping in her bed. She was actually in a criminal lane of drug dealers and ex-boyfriends and drugs and fucking knows what. And she got killed by accident. It's a shame she did get killed, but she wasn't as beautiful and amazing as she says. Same as all the other people started getting protested about. They are not perfect beings. Jesus, if we are perfect, what the hell are we doing? Okay. I'm not way, unless you're a Trump supporter, but that's fucking amazing when you kill one of them, eh?
They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out.
Yeah, and a lot of the civil rights people actually back Trump. So how's this going to work out for you? They don't even support Democrats because they know the Democrats are the ones who were in charge of the KKK. And I'm not joking, look it up. And a lot of Democrat policies were actually induced and stopped the black communities from getting anywhere. You know, it wasn't the Republicans, it was a lot of the Democrat things as well. Look back at when Abraham Lincoln was in charge.
We're going to work.
Sharp. Like, there was Democrats back then as well. They were supporting the southern states, and it was quite hard to get him to win the next election until, you know, he won the war. But it's still there. Like, the Democrats who are still as racist as fuck as they were back then. They're still racist as hell, man. They're still terrible. They're just using all the nice words. I bet if you show, like, unlike me, I actually look at people from their character. This is what a lesson that I learned from Martin Luther King. Learn from a person by their character. Or learn the words the same. Judge someone by their character, not by their skin. I try that so much, but when you see that violence in America and the news media that keeps talking about race before sex and age and who the person is, I am seriously running the barriers down just to come, like, you're a certain colour, and I'm going to start thinking of you just as bad. It's already intentions in the air thanks to those guys. Democrats are just making it worse. I've covered this before. It just gets worse.
Out, so we change the way in which we have more transparency and when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These kind of cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it, but we have to have a system where people are held accountable. When, and by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right,
What is peaceful protest?
At least he said it. Thank you, Joe. First time I'll say that. Thank you for actually admitting that violence isn't a good way to go, but peaceful protest is. And I think I have a funny feeling where Trump's going to go with this one.
When they run through the middle of the town
President Trump,
and burn down your
President Trump,
stores and kill people all
President
over
Trump,
the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful.
protest.
President
No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not,
asking-
but you say it is.
President Trump, I'd like to continue with the
Yes,
issue of
go ahead.
race. I promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order in a moment.
Okay.
This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place. And you know,
Especially universities, they are the head poncho for this kind of incidents to be happening. Shouldn't be happening though.
and so does everybody
what
else.
is radical,
And he would know.
What is
Oh, it's
radical
totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we would pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's just.
They fucking are!
Here's the deal. I
They've
know
been doing that since the fucking 60s.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important that people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact,
Yeah, and the Marxists and Socialists, they look down on people who like Trump. They look down on people who like capitalism. They look down on people who try to better themselves. They look down on people who want to make themselves a better life. They want to get married, they want to have kids, they want to be good. They want to prosper in the economy. They want to be happy. They want to go to things. They want to be fucking amazing, you know? Like, I'm trying to do that. I mean, that's why I was throwing this little book about. Because that's me trying to start a little business of myself. Funny enough, eh? And trust me, there's only one way people that thrive in the economy. Small government and self-determination. You only get what you work for in this world. Not the other way around. Not the way that they've been teaching the students, the adults. They've been teaching that since the fucking wars, or the Cold War. They've been teaching that since bloody ever. I mean, look at the new Call of Duty trailer. Just watch that. That's exactly how this is going.
we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred.
Yeah.
You look at Ferguson, you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now. But the reason is that the Democrats that run these cities don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
And you still
crime.
haven't mentioned.
Violent
Are you
crime.
in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow
Are you in
it and a
favor
little
of
bit
law and order? Go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm in
You
favor.
asked a question, let him finish.
Law and order.
Loses
Let him.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
15%.
Why?
Down much more.
That's a fucking lot, eh?
Mr. President, you're going to... Mr. President,
Every record in the
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's exactly my question. There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago?
Oh, that's terrible over there.
53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever...
I know, like, the shooting rate went, like, over 150, like, within a fucking weekend. That was the 4th of July celebrations, and it was like, hey, everyone celebrate, but the crime rate went, like, all the way fucking up. It was crazy. I don't even get how the hell it went that bad. And Chicago, that was bad. We covered that, and I don't even think I went covered the most of it. I was Obama's area. He's from there, and I mean, it's getting nuts. This is the kind of subjects I look at all the time. It's like these people are going nuts, and it is mostly Democrat cities, but the thing is, it's a people problem as well. It's a politics and a people problem. Okay, I mean it's both. You can't signify which one is. It's a both sides' problem. But the thing is, you need to take the politics stance and the human stance as well. And telling people to hate your world and make things worse, that's just not how things work. If you want to feel happy, you want to feel good, you need to tell people it's actually not as bad as it is, otherwise they don't feel fucking depressed. I fucking know that.
Never seen anything. The numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone.
Well, that's what they're saying that you're using next to suburbs.
Suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would
so
not.
much
I was
better.
raised.
Oh,
I
yes.
was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles and racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure
Why,
to deal
it's
with
not about the
environment.
COVID
They're being
shit.
flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything.
Maybe an
That's
hour,
why the
has it?
suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean?
I am going to take 5 minutes here. I'll be back in a minute. Don't worry. Right, we're back. We're back again. Third round of tea. I think it's like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. 3:30. So we're still going. Well, at least the things are still going. I think Instagram actually tried to cut me off there. Funny that, eh? But it's okay. Everything's recorded, so it doesn't matter. Let's continue.
And do you support,
It means
let me, if I might finish the question, what does reimagining policing mean? And do you support the
Yes.
Black Lives Matter call
My
for,
bit. This is my favorite
for
one.
community
This is what
control
we're
of
waiting
policing?
for.
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally
So you
opposed
support
to
the
defunding
police.
police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local.
What? Trump? It's the fucking Democrats that want to fund the police! Holy shit! It's your entire fucking party's regime has been saying to defund the police! Support Black Lives Matter, destroy capitalism, destroy the nuclear family, and get rid of capitalism. And defund the police! As long as you have the Green New Bill as well, which will fuck everything up, but... Wow.
Local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them.
Okay, let's go explain how that's gonna work. So, 9/11 happens, big planes go boom, boom, boom. Right, we need the psychiatrist out here! Where's the psychiatrist? Oh shit, he's in the buildings. Fucking hell, I mean... What is the psychiatrist gonna do? Fuck. Oh, fucking blade. Oh boy.
From having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down.
Are you fucking kidding me? Did you literally take this out of the OAC book? What the fuck? We need to make sure people in the communities. What happens when a white officer goes into a black community? They tend to want the white officer out. and when it happens to a black guy going into the black community, the black cop wants to get the fuck out of there because they know exactly what the fuck's going to happen to them. They're more likely to be killed in the black neighborhood because there are high homicide rates. Fuck. Wake up!
It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're talking about.
That's
He's talking
exactly
about
Oh,
funding the
fuck.
police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law
Well, you
support.
look,
He has no law enforcement
that's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
Look,
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go
Look,
ahead.
look.
Think. We have time.
Go on.
we don't have time to do
No, no,
anything.
think
All right.
except-
All right,
Name one
folks.
law enforcement group that came out and
I think,
supported
gentlemen, I think I'm going to take back the
There are.
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there are any.
and I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had
That's-
more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence?
I would have done it on
I
fucking
don't
day
know public
fucking
office.
5 at least.
I am a former vice president. I've made it clear. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never called for
prosecuted.
the people, the leaders.
Did you ever call it the stop?
Never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call
Because
bring in
they-
the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here.
Oh, really?
Really? Oh, hiya. Yeah, we've got one viewer. Hey guys. Hey, whoever it is, I can't read from the side, sorry. Welcome to the live stream. Yes, I don't think when you're calling people out to... I forgot what you were talking about because I said hi. Hiya.
Here's
I sent
sir,
in the
wait, I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshals
question.
to get the killer of a young man in the middle of the street. They shot him. And for
That's what I was trying to get into again. That's what happened. Right, so that's what happened, was it? Because every time you seem to go into these situations where it fucks up massively, they start protesting, they start killing people, and things go tits up.
3
Yes,
days,
President Trump.
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump.
anything.
He's
I had to send in
interrupted.
the U.S. Marshals and
President
they
Trump.
took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, you know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all
I
about.
don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
Who?
Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so
No,
here's,
she
all right,
didn't.
but here's the point.
Go
The
ahead.
point is that that's what he is keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in
Right, I remember this now all going out. He was telling Trump to leave her alone. Leave her alone. He fucking left them alone, and 100 days of riots in Portland, Oregon was the result. He's left these Democrat cities that's been taken over by Antifa and Black Lives Matter, literally taken over, like Seattle Central, and they're letting these things go on and go on and go on because they say it's peaceful protests, but they're killing people. Like you just mentioned there, the guy who got shot on the street for wearing a Trump hat. Remember the black guy I was talking about a few weeks ago where he was just standing there at the side of his road with a sign and he got shot in the fucking heat. You know why? He supported Trump. This isn't how things work, man.
and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly,
And-
every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You
Yeah.
have repeatedly
I
criticized.
have to answer his
No, you have
His statement?
repeatedly.
Wait,
You have
just wait a
no,
second.
you've been talking
You
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to
you know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it.
You know, if you want to switch seats,
We would very quickly.
We can do that, but I'm
Send in the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to
to
do that.
specifically
But
do it?
I
Go
would
ahead,
say,
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right
So
wing.
what are you,
Very true.
What are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
What would
white
you like me to condemn?
white supremacists and
Which
white
groups?
Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left.
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
What? Antifa is a fucking anti-fascist organization which hurts people. They're organized. They're ready to go. They're fucking ready to attack people. They are willing. They're prepped. They've got soldiers. They've got shock troopers. These folk are fucking ready for anything. Crazy. I love this subject though.
Got it.
Not malicious. That's what his
Tonight,
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
We're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
What
moving.
a bad idea in the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
administration tells you the truth is a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas that are
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you gotta
Biden
be careful
records.
with them. They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, "Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records,
There we
I'm
go.
going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite
Oh,
going
yes,
through
that
all
was
these
today,
things,
wasn't
trying
it?
to fight both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings.
That was
And
a
I'm
lot,
member of
dude.
his
There
party.
was a lot of judges that actually flew in.
Different philosophy. I'd say if you
Even
left
the last one, Supreme
us
one.
128 openings, you can't be a good president. You can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession.
Sure.
I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused a recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got
Fucking hell! Are we still on this shit?
Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can
No, I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy.
Oh
by a
boy.
tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's President of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and
He never said those fucking words. That came out of a random article by a random news source, a random journalist. And have you ever seen him with military personnel? He's a fucking hero to them. He's almost absolutely amazing compared to this shithole that actually spoke shit about them on front of their faces. We might talk about that in another video.
and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq.
Aye, here we go. Bring the family in. I thought you said we were going to bring the family in. Weird.
Spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot. And the people left behind there were heroes. And I resent
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking
I'm
about Hunter?
talking about my son, Beau Biden. You're talking about me.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter
you know
got Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. It
For
wasn't dishonorably.
cocaine use, and he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None
became
of that
vice
is
president, he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son.
He actually did that things, and Joe actually had to confess it because Hunter actually confessed it for him. And plus, he never called the military losers. Why, if they were losers, why would he put money towards them? He would be trying to fuck them over because he thought they were all stupid fuckers, wouldn't he? I mean, if I thought that way, I would. Okay. Probably. I don't know.
fortune.
My son.
And he didn't have a
My
job.
son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he
proud of
given
my
tens
son?
of millions
All
of
right,
But he
dollars?
wasn't given
All right.
tens of millions of dollars. That is totally,
President Trump, you've already
totally discredited.
we've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make
I know,
a
but
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay, right.
from the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow.
let's talk
That is
about
not
it.
true.
Gentlemen,
That report is totally
Why did he get it?
discredited.
I
Mitt Romney on that committee says it wasn't worth taxpayers'
Yeah.
money. That report was written for political reasons.
You know, I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging
Here we
now.
go.
They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But
Funny enough, he's right, because the numbers are there. As soon as he left the climate agreement, the European numbers have went up all the European numbers went up. France, Germany, and Britain, however, have actually their emissions have went up, but Americans have somehow went down, and they're bigger than us. Funny that. No joke.
Haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees.
Oh yeah, I mean that's California problem. That is because was looked at. What was there, a fire not long ago, or fire 2 years ago, or something that destroyed a part of a city or a town, and it was started by a fire of a telegraph post built in the 1920s, which we're still currently using normal power. This is actual regulation by the California state government that actually doesn't control the fires. That's the problem. They don't control their fires. This is why there was a thing of controlling fire management. But then they just stopped it and let the debris build. And now you have all this dry wood burning up and now taking everything else with it. There was controlled fire. Now they've stopped it.
Trees that are years old and they're like tinder and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have guts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
Do you
exciting.
believe that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of the
I think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think
Same
we
here.
have to do better management of our forests. Every
Oh, yeah.
year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they live their forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But, sir,
That's burning down because of a lack of
But
management.
sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards? that
It's
are
not
gonna create
efficient.
More pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks.
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference, and then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer, it would be much cheaper by
But in the case of California,
$3,500.
they simply
No, but
ignored
it would take a lot of cars off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit
Okay.
of gasoline. And I'm okay with
Especially
electric
California
cars, too.
prices,
I mean,
they're
I'm all for
fucking
electric cars. I think
stupidly
big
high.
incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just
All right.
crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits.
Fuck, you getting 2 trillion
ending
for?
the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong.
Like the Green
Nothing
Bill
true.
costing
In fact,
93 trillion.
during our administration, we
Higher than the
I
fucking
was
national
able-
debt.
I was able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two,
It's not
we're gonna
energy
make sure that
efficient
we're
yet.
able to take
We're not even
the
advanced to
federal fleet and
get
turn it
that.
into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way
He's talking about the Green New Bill, by the way.
that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands of...
So I mean the Green New Deal, the one that cost $93 trillion, when the national debt's like 15 trillion. Way too much. Like, what's the point in converting buildings? Yeah, I get some need to be converted down, but 14 million? Fucking hell. I mean, really? You need to, like, you build highways, well, you need to, like, maybe invest more money into more energy efficient ways, because California has the best amount of sunlight that you can get for solar panels, but the solar panels cannot handle it just now. They're terrible. And what was it the governor said? Like, switch your energy off at 3 o'clock just to make sure you keep as much energy as possible. Expect blackouts in the middle of summer. Okay.
thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good paying jobs. Not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that in fact is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart.
Well, that's their fucking fault. Fuck. America shouldn't be the ideal, look at us, we need them again. We're moving to a world that everyone looks after themselves and we all work with each other as long as we don't try and kill each other. We're not in a state where we deliberately ask America for everything. That's exactly what World War II was doing at the start. Now we're in a generation where we can't let the big powers have all the fucking power to do everything, because that's just not use. It's bad. It isn't healthy for little economies to get growing. Brexit, by the way, this is kind of what I'm issuing at here. But, oh, it's all falling apart, is it? So, France can't look after its own emission problems? It needs America? Why don't they work with Germany? Oh wait, they fucked up as well. Clever.
And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about
Brazil
that,
isn't
I
our
would be gathering
problem.
up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion. Say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, make sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is a guy who says that, well, the fact that
There's talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about.
Where they want to rip down buildings.
Okay.
Rebuild the buildings.
Not 92. Yeah,
where
close
airplanes
enough.
are out of business, where two-car systems are out, where they want to take out the cows too. That's not true either, right? This is a $100 trillion. That's more money than our country could make In
It's
100
simply
years, if we're
not
going
the case.
All right, let me,
It will destroy our
because I
country.
actually, wait a minute, sir, I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's
Yeah.
going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good paying
Hundreds of
jobs.
Well, let him-
Really?
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100
They,
billion.
the fact is, it's going to
That's a
create
lot of
millions
money
of
just to throw
good
into
jobs.
fucking one
And
type
it's
of
tax
project, is
incentives
it not?
For people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things beneath that bill or agreement plan that will make the government even more powerful, like telling planes when and when not they can take off. Just to say one.
It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that.
That's-
When the fuck did he say that?
And here's the deal.
You make up.
We are going to be in a position where we can create hard, good jobs by making sure the environment is clean and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happening just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties.
And apparently the death rate from actual, things like this isn't actually getting any higher. The deaths are getting lower per year with natural event of disasters. We're more prepared than ever to deal with a natural disaster. But you don't care, do you? Not really.
Counties in Iowa. They didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. We, in fact, but the rest of the world, we've got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen,
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India
Aye,
does.
they're
don't do it.
fucking
We're
black.
supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is
Not
not
20
my
billion.
plan.
That's
The Green
well.
New
You want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
You want to rebuild
All right,
every
you have-
knew
you have
anything
to- wait a
about
minute,
if you knew
gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about
statement
gentlemen.
about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
And he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
He said
Mr.
stupid
Thank
bastards.
you.
He said it.
Stop.
I would
Told
never
you.
I
say
would
that.
Play
Stop.
it. Play it.
Go ahead. Mr.
You're
Vice
okay.
President answered his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all was Randy's.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental changes will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward.
Pay
We're
for
not gonna build
itself.
plants that, in fact, are great polluting
Do
plants.
you
We're gonna
support the
build-
Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support that?
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't? Oh, well, that's a big statement.
I support.
Holy shit, he doesn't support it? Pocahontas, AOC, and Nancy Doolin? Oh, you fucked up. Ah, you fucked up. Oh, you support the police and you don't support the this Green New Deal? Fucking hell, man. This is gonna fuck it up, man. This is gonna be bad. Oof.
You just asked the radical left.
I support
No, you
the
don't.
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen.
It is
final
radical.
segment.
Oh, good,
Election
finally.
integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early.
Uh-oh.
How
Here we go.
confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks? Because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote, it should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security
Vote
Director,
when you
Ann
go
Fauci,
to the ballot
says
box.
there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots. Like
Oh,
he does.
fuck me.
He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are...
And who will these poll people be? Democrat supporters? Republican supporters? Or will they just be Imam Mohar's little gang of Somalian refugee folk that will just, you know, please their fucking selves and post social media videos? Who's it gonna be?
counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because you will...
Vote Trump.
He cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not, when the votes are counted, and they're all counted...
Yeah, and make sure that you actually win, right? Because I think they've actually played clear. If Joe Biden must win, must not condemn the... no matter what the consequences are. Is that right? I think it was.
that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that will be accepted.
Of course it fucking would.
In fact, he says he's not sure what he's going to accept. Well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter. Because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure...
But when your
understand
party's telling you not to condemn the fact you've lost...
what this country's going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change? Or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So
Here we go.
when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won. From the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady, they were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay? Solicited is okay. You're soliciting. You're asking. They send it back. You send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump. Just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen.
This is going to be fucking 10 times worse than the Bill Clinton incident.
You're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really
Bill
happy
or
with the
Bush,
job
I think
we've
it
done.
was.
But you know what?
Bush, sorry.
We won't know. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say, you have to have your ballot in by November 10th. November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that.
Sir.
All run by Democrats.
Makes no sense. Does it? Makes no sense.
President Trump,
It's a rigged
you're
election.
going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud.
Oh,
but in
it will.
2018,
It's
the last
pretty
midterm
obvious.
election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think, well, I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what are you
throw
going to do
them out
about
left
it? There
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now.
do is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot,
No,
and that's
I
okay,
know
or
your
you go and
complaint, but
vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go and
have
vote. You go and
No,
vote,
but
like
what I'm saying is, what
like
are
they
you
used
going
to
to do about the fact
in the
that
old.
millions of people?
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're
Oh, that
being
was
sold.
bad.
They're being dumped in rivers. This is a
Aye,
horrible
this-
thing for our country.
That was terrible
This is
seeing
not-
those ones.
This is not going to end.
There
well.
was evidence. We
This is
looked at
not
the
going
fucking
to-
thing.
5 states
In fact,
have had
go ahead,
mail-in
sir.
ballots for the last decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by election day. If it doesn't get in until the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just a
Well, why do they have to come in after the date of the election? Shouldn't these ballots be filled in by the time it should be before the election date? Before the election date. I mean, I think whenever we have to do it in the European countries, we have to make sure we vote before the fucking election day comes up. Otherwise, it makes no sense, does it? Then we have to wait 7 days see if the voting in one state will make sense. But then in Trump's case, it's going to be 50 states of unsure fucking numbers with hypocritical folk behind the barriers where they'll throw them in the bin and burn the things. You look at that fucking joke in the future.
afraid of counting the votes because
You're
of the
wrong.
outcome.
You're
No,
wrong.
I want to continue with you on
I
this.
love that.
Vice President Biden.
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a
Is that,
statement
no,
like that.
excuse me. Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable number, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out or there is some other irregularity or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal.
Here we go.
When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you, that is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me,
No,
when you
I
have
have a final,
80 million ballots,
gentlemen, I have a final
Senate
question.
is swamping
I-
the system.
you
know it can't be done. You know it can't. And already
All right,
there's been
so now-
fraud,
Mail servers
deception.
delivers
Wait a minute, gentlemen, in the
185
final
million
question.
Oh,
in
fuck.
8 states, we can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and
Yes.
flatten them until election day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are
Yeah.
not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks.
Could be
That
until we
that
find
can't
out
be.
who
That can't happen, can it?
So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other.
Well, at least
Will
this
you
last
urge your
fucking bit.
supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest, and will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently
Well, Facebook's gonna make sure you don't fucking say they've won, are they? This is gonna cause fucking chaos, isn't it? It's gonna go fucking nuts!
Fine. President Trump, you
I'm
go first.
urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia. Bad things.
Oh, yes.
I am urging.
They do,
I
they
am
do.
urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll
No.
tell you what,
What does that
from
mean?
a common
Go along.
sense,
Does that mean
I'll
you're
tell
gonna
you
tell
what
your
it
people
means.
to take to the
It means
street?
you have a fraudulent election.
Mm-hmm.
You're
What
sending
are you
out
gonna do?
80
What
million
would you
ballots.
do about that?
They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two,
Okay.
they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name
All right.
military ballots. They were military. They
Mm-hmm.
all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
You think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, here's the deal. They count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way,
You shouldn't be allowed to do that.
by ballots.
This is a
for
big
citizens
election.
in the
You can't
Civil
take
War.
this fucking long to do it.
And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots. That somehow it's a fraudulent
It's
process.
already been established.
It's been established, mate.
I asked you, you had an
We
opportunity
know
to
this is
respond.
established.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the
He
deal.
fucking does! We all know this shit's gonna happen!
Why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome, and I'll be a president not just for the.
You mean like Hillary Clinton did? She definitely condemned Trump winning. She's telling him not to condemn winning. If Joe the puppet isn't going to be doing this, it's going to be the rest of them. They're going to make sure these people get fucking pissed off as hell when this is going to go nuts.
Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see honest
Okay.
ballot count.
Gentlemen, will you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate.
Honest ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave it
he does
there.
too.
To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating.
It's been an hour and a
In the further
fucking
debates
half.
that you've agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve
Shit.
University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The two
Ooh.
vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris.
Now that's going to be
will
something
debate
to
at 9
watch.
p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you and good night. Thank you.
And that is it. Oh, we get Joe and oh no, it's her. Okay. She's looking quite nice today, actually. And there we go. Why is she wearing the mask? I don't get that. I never do. And he's just gonna walk around. Yeah, you still get the final shower at the end, don't you? So guys, that is it. I hope if you actually did watch the end of this, thank God you did. I mean, this was very interesting to watch. I was pretty happy about the result of this, but wow, fucking hell, that was a bit heated a lot of times, wasn't it? I mean, a lot of that was heated as hell, and Trump needs to shut up sometimes, but Joe, you put yourself in some positions that I do not think your Democrat people are going to be happy with. Condemning the police should be, responsible, they're helping them out, like there's a few bad apples. Okay, that thing you mentioned there, and not backing the Green Deal. Wow, that is gonna piss off Pocahontas, AOC, and the crew. That is gonna destroy a lot of the morale with all them lot. But I was pretty happy with Trump. He's still my supporter, and yeah, Joe did thing on the strings a little bit. It's like, oh, get away from this guy, but it's like, Joe, come on. I mean, at least Trump, when he was bitching or when he's talking over, he's actually giving out the facts that we all know. That, like, things are happening. People are getting shot in Chicago. Things are going bad. Fuck me, man. This was one interesting debate. But Joe, I don't know what position you've put yourself in, but the mail-in ballot things, no wonder you put that to the very, very fucking end so they couldn't talk about it that much. But it's going to be one hell of a fucking election, let's say that. It's going to be one hell. It's going to be better than 2016. It's going to be way better than 2016, I tell you that as much. But thank you guys for watching the video. If you actually watch this on Instagram, YouTube or so on, we are everywhere. This video is also on YouTube as a full video, unedited, or edited as much as we can because it's awful glitchy a few times when we watch this thing. And thank you everyone who watched this channel, and hope they support us in the future because we are not done yet. Thank you, and something else. No, I'm joking. No, we're not joking. Remember, hail the Empire. Thank you.
So guys, thank you for watching this video straight to the very end. So I must have done something like that you've been able to watch this piece of shit long enough. So thank you guys for watching this video right to the end. And if you want to support my channel in any other way, because we are planning to go big on this channel, we are planning to make sure that the left knows us, make sure the cancel culture recognizes we are a threat. Like me and many other creators, our voices are being silenced every and each day. So we must make sure we stand out to the crowd. And I am going to make sure my voice and freedom of speech is going to be there too. And if you want to help me support this, we are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Parler, and Patreon. We're also on BitChute, and we also have our own website. So if you want to know any special details, make sure you click onto the Parler app and the BitChute so we can get more content on this for the special members on those pages, and you get to see more events about what I'm doing. It's going to be a lot of interesting stuff you get to see on those things. So make sure you sign up to all these different pages where you want to get to see what I'm doing, and we could get a lot of interesting stuff going on here, guys. So thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next one. And remember, hail the Empire!